Well, it's so dark in here. It's not really as dark as it looks in here, but what that is, that's an 8-pointer. Standing there just above the house. Not in muzzleloader range from here, but easy muzzleloader range as if I was standing on the back porch. Easy muzzleloader. That's a decent buck. I really ought to try to make an effort to take him. I really should. But not today. I'll roll the dice. I ain't gonna try to get him. That might not be, again, one of the smartest moves I've ever made. I think I've seen that buck there at least 3 times, I think. I think I've seen him 3 times. I let him go again. I don't really know what I'm holding out for. 8-point buck. That would be good enough, but I've got so many 8-pointers and stuff like that that it don't matter. I'm just enjoying the hunt and seeing them. But again, the action occurred during the solunar period. It's absolutely amazing how that works. I mean, it's not 100% of the time, of course, and y'all know the night to come up with them, he'll tell you that they're not 100%. But by golly, they're amazingly accurate. So much so that I will continue to follow them, that's for sure. Daybreak on day 14 of the early muzzleloader season. I mean, day 12 of a 14-day early muzzleloader season. This is day 12. The morning breaks cloudy. Got cloudy skies, but it's still dry. It's still predicted to be powder dry. Clouds are supposed to move out this morning without leaving any rain. But also, not only do we won't have any rain, as far as the solunar tables goes, there are no solunar periods early or late in the morning. There are no solunar periods that correlate or correspond to the normal early morning and late afternoon movement periods. None. They're all either mid-morning or mid-afternoon or early evening and wee hours in the morning. But when the regular rifle season will open in a few, well, this is Wednesday, regular rifle will open Saturday. The major solunar periods will coincide with the early morning and late afternoon movement periods for several days. But anyway, with no major or minor solunar periods this morning, we're going to sit by and watch and see what kind of deer movement we have, if any. Might be interesting. Well, well after daybreak. It's still early in the morning, but well after daybreak. And I've been texting with my brother, who's hunting a farm close by, and a friend who's farm the other direction over here. Another friend who's about 15, 20 miles up the road. Nobody is seeing anything so far this morning. Nobody's seeing anything at all here at the farm. On any more normal day, I haven't heard, not even a crow waking up. Haven't heard a tree call from a turkey. Haven't even heard a crow call. haven't seen the first Tweety bird or a fox squirrel or anything. There is no solar period going. It ended well before daylight. The major ended way before daylight. And the minor don't even start to 8:53. Nothing. The only thing I've heard so far, because of the cloud cover, I get a little bit of sound. Most of the time you don't hear any sound that don't originate here at the farm. You just don't hear it. It's quiet out here. The location of it, it's very remote. It's very private. But I did hear a dog or two way off in the distance. Like if you got a low cloud cover, sometimes it kind of bounces the sound around, I guess. But heard a dog or two barking. That's been the only sight or sound of anything that I've heard this morning. I hear an airplane. That don't count. That don't count. They pretty much run on schedule. Solar period or no solar period. I'm just gonna enjoy my coffee. I don't reckon I had to have a solar period to do that. Now here it is, a full hour after daylight. I've not seen a sign of life anywhere, except for that one lone cow that comes at the top of the hill up there. That's a property line up there. It's one of the neighbor's cows. That's all I've seen. No solar period going on at all. I have an hour after daylight. You've not heard the first crow, first turkey. Haven't seen the first Tweety bird. No squirrels, no nothing. Absolutely no signs of life whatsoever, except that one domestic cow up on top of that ridge. Just as the solar period started, minor solar period just got started, two does came out in the field, right here near the food plot. Acted a bit nervous, then took off running in different directions. Two of them. And then Whitey and her baby sister came out. For a while, they got all nervous and run back into the field. Then a I think a 4-point, good, fairly heavy rack came out, ran those does off, and then he took off after him. And then in just a minute, this buck steps out. This little fella is a spike, I think. I need to take a little bit better look at him through the spotting scope. There was nothing this morning. And then all of a sudden the solar period gets cranked up, and then bam, bam, I got 2 bucks and several does in the field. But my brother, before the solar period got started, he had 2 small bucks come by his stand. It's in the county just to the west of us. And then my buddy Jerry, that if you've ever watched any of the fishing videos, Jerry, up at his farm, about 20 miles north of here, he said he had seen more rutting activity this morning than he had seen so far this season. And he had several deer, several bucks chasing does, but they were all small. The bucks that my brother's seen this morning were small. The 2 that I've seen were small. But the rut has definitely kicked up. This little fella, he's took a break from the rut, though. He's come out there and he's eating in the food plot now. I got to keep a sharp eye, because rutting activity has definitely kicked up here on the 15th of the month. I thought that was actually a spike. I looked at him through the spotting scope. He's a 5-pointer. Big boy's got us. One of the big boys has got to pop out here pretty soon. Now here comes Whitey and her baby sister, but without Mama. Mama has got to be out with a buck. He's not sure what to do without Mama. They don't know where to go or what to do. Definitely rutting activity. But they're right here. That buck. Stand there in the food plot right there. He's taking him a break from the rut. Well, there's a bit of buck activity this morning for sure. That makes the third buck that I've seen right up there in that corner. I keep hoping they'll get bigger, but instead they're getting smaller. That was a little spike. Boy, the rut is definitely getting cranked up. Definitely getting cranked up. And right here, and during this minor solunar period in mid-morning, there's quite a bit of activity. It's really been sort of wild here this morning. There was absolutely nothing moving for the first hour and a half of daylight. Solunar period come on, minor solunar period come on, and it's been pretty much deer activity the whole time. The past hour has been quite a bit of deer activity, including 3 bucks, small bucks, chasing. Another buck just come out on the top of the big field up here. Small buck, actually I looked at him in the scope, or binoculars. He's a spike, small spike. I actually think it's probably the same spike I saw over here earlier, but I don't know that. I think he is. It's my buddy's checking in. Everybody's having different sorts of luck. But everybody's seen something this morning. And let me text my brother back here. That was my brother. He was just reminded me that it's right now in the middle of the solunar period. Yeah, it sure is. My goodness, this is one day that it was right on the money. Absolutely nothing until the solunar period. It's just a minor period, but and it's occurred mid-morning. Absolutely nothing until mid-morning until the solunar period came on. It's been pretty steady activity ever since. Well, absolutely all the deer activity has stopped. It's as dead as a hammer right now. Well, after the solunar period ended, it's as dead as it was before the solunar period started. But during that solunar period, the entire minor solunar period, the whole hour and a half of it this morning, had deer activity in it. There were deer chasing activity, just rutting activity the whole hour. I didn't say anything I wouldn't shoot, but there was rutting activity the whole hour during the solunar period. It started as right at the beginning of the solunar period, and when it ended, all activity ended 5 minutes before the end of the solunar period. Haven't seen a thing since. So this morning, the hunting absolutely went right along the lines of when the solunar period said it would. So for I'm back out at the Quigley mid-afternoon. Now, as I've stated before, if I was still hunting big woods, then I'd be hunting around in loafing and bedding areas. I wouldn't be concentrating on feeding areas. But here at the farm, it's a feeding area proposition. And the two areas are hunted entirely different. The feeding area, or loafing and bedding areas, are better, or not at their peak, that first hour and last hour of the day. The loafing and bedding areas are not, whereas the feeding areas are. But right now, the rut is definitely showing signs of picking up. So you can find feeding or deer activity, deer movement, even in feeding areas, even in the middle of the day when the rut's on. But this morning, let me give you a little recap of the day. This morning, there were no solunar period early, none. At that normal daylight first hour, there was no solunar period. Solunar period didn't start until an hour and a half after daylight. And I saw absolutely nothing until the solunar period came on. And when the solunar period came on, and it's a minor period, and it only lasted up to an hour and a half, I pretty much had deer activity all morning, or all during the solunar period. Then when the solunar period was over, bam, it stopped. So I left and did a few things, and right now there's a major solunar period that occurred in the afternoon. It actually goes from 1 to 4, and I'm well an hour into the solunar period, and I've come out here simply because, even though it's a bedding area or feeding area, it is rut. They have started showing the rutting signs. So you want to spend a lot of time looking when the rut is in full swing. Well, it's definitely showed signs of rutting activity starting. But there is like I said, a major solunar period going on right now. So I will stay with it for the next couple hours from 2 to 4, which is normally the deadest time for me. I've killed fewer deer between 2 and 4 than at any other time period in the day. And usually if I'm hunting the big woods, still hunting around this time period, 2 to 4 comes on. If I feel sleepy and everything, I want to take me a little 10 or 15 minute power nap. That's when I do it, between 10 and 4, or 2 and 4. But I just generally have very little success between those hours. So here I am in a feeding area on stand between 2 and 4, but only because the rut is kicking in. If the rut was not kicking in, you would not find me on a feeding area doing a lot of hunting. But I'm going to this afternoon. Then the solunar period ends at 4 o'clock. The minor period don't start until an hour after dark. So that 2 hours from 4 to 6 this afternoon, there is no solunar period. But there is a normal late afternoon feeding period time. So I will be back for that for sure. But anyway, I'm putting in extra hours today on this mid-afternoon solunar period simply because the rut is kicking up, and I am hunting a feeding area, but the rut is picking up. So we'll spend a little time here, and we'll see whether we're wasting it or not. Well, so far, what we've had today was there was no solunar period early this morning, and there was absolutely no movement until 9 o'clock when the major or minor solunar period started. And from 9 to 10:30, the end of the solunar period, there was quite a bit of deer activity. A little bit of feeding, but mostly rutting activity, and mostly just small bucks. Then the major solunar period was from 1 to 4. And I was not expecting to see any action then at all. There was no movement early in the morning, and there was from 9 to 10:30. So if the rutting activity was peak, then I could say you could expect to see deer any time, and I'll stay out here on the stand the whole time. But it's not. It's just getting wound up. So there was a movement period in mid-morning, so I wasn't expecting anything mid-afternoon. And then, now I come out here with about 45 minutes of daylight left. No solunar period. But you do have the influence of the early morning, late afternoon feeding period. Like I said, I'm hunting feeding areas. I'm not hunting bedding areas. So I'm hunting feeding areas. And my 3 regulars, that's Mom, Whitey, her kid sister, and her mama, come out here up on top of this hill. They're out there right now. But they pretty much live here. My gosh, they're here all the time. So they just come wandering out, and give them a bite to eat, and no sign of any rutting activity at all. They're just up there feeding away. Gorging on clover, I reckon. But anyway, right now, today, the solunar periods do not fall in even at the early or late normal feeding area. So today, as far as the solunar periods go, they're not falling in the best of times for hunting feeding areas. If you were hunting bedding areas, they'd be just fine, because you expect the deer to be back in their bedding areas from 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock. You definitely would expect the deer to be in their feeding areas. So if you're hunting big woods, still hunting big woods, slipping around through the big woods, in bedding and loafing areas, then those solunar periods fall at a good time. But for how you're hunting open country, feeding areas, they're not falling good at all. You prefer them, the solunar periods, to coincide with that normal late afternoon, early morning feeding time. But they're not doing it right now. But a few more days, let's see, today's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, regular rifle season opens. Of course, it's muzzleloader season, early muzzleloader. But and by that time, the major periods, both morning and afternoon, fall right in that normal early morning, late afternoon feeding time. Plus the rut's getting wound up. So those first several days of rifle season, all things look good. And you better believe I'll bring me some coffee and a snack, and I'll be out here all day. Hoping for that big, because I've done passed up too many bucks. Hoping to get a crack at a bigger one, but something's gonna. I don't want to wind up here drawing a blank this year. Oh, anyway, we'll see. We'll see what the rest of the afternoon brings. Two bucks were up there sparring before I get the camera out. Well, it's pretty much sunrise on day 13 of a 14-day season. But early muzzleloader closes tomorrow, but then regular rifle opens the next day. I didn't get out here to the Quigley until just a few minutes ago. I'm getting a late start today. Lazy, I reckon. Yeah, I'm lazy, or it could be that I'm old enough that I need my sleep. I didn't go to bed last night till near 11 o'clock. I need to be in bed by no later than 9 o'clock if I'm going to get up, be out here before daylight. This morning, the heck with it. I just turned over and went back to sleep for a while. But there's no solunar period going on, none, until 10 o'clock. The major period ended 2 hours before day, a little over 2 hours before dawn. And the minor don't start until 10 o'clock. It's a dead morning as far as solunar period's concerned. And I haven't communicated with any of my other buddies, but my brother, he'd only seen, all he had seen, he got out there before daylight, and all he had seen was, he said at 6:42, so that was just a few minutes after daylight, so he saw one lone doe across the field in front of his stand. But when I came out here and started up the steps quickly, I looked up there in the field, and I saw something, that little spot that didn't look right, and come in here and got my binoculars put on it, deer, and got the spot and scope out looking. It was two deer, 2 bucks, 2 little bucks. One little buck had he was a young buck, but he had a decent rack on his right side, no rack on his left. He had lost his left. And the other one was one of those little spikes that I've been seeing over here on this hill. It's got one normal spike on his left side, and then the right side grows straight down his face, right over his eyes, straight down his face. They were standing out there sparring around a little bit, but they were only there a minute or two. And then back to the woods they went. And that's all I've seen so far. If the rut was in full swing, which it's getting started, there ain't no two ways about that. But if it was peeking out in full swing, you're liable, which you can now anyway, likely to see a buck at any time. But there is no solunar period corresponding to a normal early morning or late afternoon movement period. It just ain't. I mean, there's no solunar period early in the morning or late in the afternoon. Wasn't yesterday, there's not today, there won't be tomorrow, but starting Saturday, opening day of the rifle season, then there will be solunar periods that coincide with that early and late normal movements. And the rut should be really getting cranked up. So, first part of the rifle season is looking good. See if they come through that gate. It's odd, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. They'd rather jump the fences, walk through the gate sometimes. Here, right here in front of the Quigley, there's another deer, a lone doe. Well, actually up above the food plot. A little buck on the prowl up there. Whitey jumped. There goes Mom. Little one will find its way through the fence. Yeah. Now they're right out here in the field where they could have come through the gap right here. Right there at them. No, they chose the hard way. If they wanted to come here and eat that clover, I mean, my good, they could come right through the fence. Let me show you where they're at. That warm sunshine. coming through that window. Boy, it feels good. You're on a cold morning. That's another good thing about the Quigley. When the sun's out, it shines through those windows. It warms it up, gets you almost drowsy. But anyway, there's been, like I said, there's been no solar period this morning at all. Solar period ended way before daylight. But it's almost 10 o'clock now. The solar period will be starting here in just about 3 or 4 minutes, a minor solar period. It goes from around 10 to about 11:30. This morning, in the normal activity period, I did see 2 bucks, 2 young bucks with their sparring. And they left, and they were out in just a few minutes, and then just a little while ago, I saw another, which I thought was a doe. He was, as long as he was in the shade, when he stepped out in the sun, he was a small buck. I think it's probably one of the 2 that were out there sparring, I think. But then a little while ago, my 3 regulars, Whitey, her baby sister, and Mama, they came out here and fed across the fields and entered the woods back over to the west here. And so there was some deer movement this morning outside the solar period. But I'm going to hang around and see what happens during this late morning solar period. Yesterday, there was quite a bit of deer movement during this same period, but of course it occurred about an hour earlier than what it does today. So we'll just see what today brings. Maybe something, maybe nothing. That solar period is going to start here in about 1 minute. And for the last little while, there's been no movement, hardly of anything, other than those few deer that was several minutes ago. But there's no bird activity, no Tweety birds, no crows, no squirrels crossing, or fox squirrels out in the fields, nothing. There's absolutely no wildlife movement right now at all that you can see here. So let's just see if overall things pick up, like bird life or whatever. Well, this solar period yesterday saw quite a bit of activity, but today there's nothing. A few squirrels and a hawk, a few Tweety birds. That's about it. No turkeys, no deer. Nothing of that description, so I think I'm going to go to the house and get something to bite to eat, because here in the next few days, the daggum rut ought to really be cranked up. Supposed to be getting a change in the weather. I think that'll help the situation too. Right now, I think I'm going to leave the Quigley for a while and come back this afternoon. Let's go to the house a while. I'm back for the last little while, hour or so of daylight. On day 13 of a 14-day muzzleloader season. And the solar periods are not lining up good with that normal late afternoon, early morning feeding times. Because if I was in the big woods hunting bedding grounds, loafing in bedding grounds, It wouldn't make that much difference because I'm right in there where the deer spend most of their time, and I'm moving around and I'm trying to find them. So I'm not relying on them getting up and coming to me. But I'm not hunting that. I'm out here hunting the farm, the fields. This is a feeding situation. So I'm relying on the urge to feed. And we all know that the peak feeding times is normally early morning, late afternoon. So I'm dependent upon that, the urge to get out and feed. Plus, it's mid-November. The rut is getting started. So between the urge to feed and the urge to breed is what I'm banking on for your success now, here, now. My nephew and my buddy Kenny, the younger guy, they went up and they set up camp where Jack and I normally hunt up there in the big woods. They both got good national forest bucks. They got good bucks, but they're not hunting like they are here. They're up there. They're hunting the loafing and the bedding areas. It's paid off for both of them. But it's a little bit early in the season to me, to my way of thinking, to rely heavily on feeding areas. I don't like having to rely on feeding areas. Sitting by a feeding area and waiting on it to come by. That is not my favorite way to hunt. I'd rather get out and go to them, but that's just not in the cards this year. So, but it's warm. Oh my gosh, it's been warm. It's up in the 70s today, and it's warm right now. I'm sitting out here in shirt sleeves. I don't believe I've ever recalled deer hunting in this part of the country in November with straw hat. Let's see. Yes, sir. Yeah. Sitting on a deer stand in the middle of November with a straw hat on. Gracious, too warm. And too dry. But weatherman's calling for a pretty good chance for some rain for the next day or two. And we'll take every drop we can get. It's looking like a desert around here. And that ain't helping as far as the deer situation, coming out to feed. I mean, it needs to green up. Sun's already down, so just a little while longer, we'll stay with it. It's beginning to cool down just a little bit. It's too dark to tell anything about him. And here, the camera, that's a little bucket, only has a horn on one side. Got a half decent rack on the side that he got, but he's still a young buck. I mean, probably just 2.5 years old. He'd be a decent buck when he grows up and learns to keep both his horns. Well, that little buck, it's right over here actually it's on the south ridge of the farm. It's the same buck that was upon the north ridge this morning at daylight, and after daylight, sparring with that little funny horn spike. Now he come out, like I say, he come out just getting dark. I hadn't looked at the clock. We're probably just past legal shooting hours, I guess. I'm just trying to close it quickly down. The 3 does had come close to the quickly, and I didn't want to spook them, so I was waiting a little bit. Happened to look around. Saw something on the ridge over there. Got out the binoculars and it was that little buck. An airplane. Anyway, no solunar period. But just relying on the normal late afternoon, early morning feeding period. There was a little bit of activity this afternoon, but the does are over here and the bucks over here, and they're not interacting at all. Not a bit. No rut signs of the ruts. I'm going to close it up for today. Be back in the morning.